In this video, we are going to model the two domes that refer to the ground and second floors of Torre Pali. To do this, we position ourselves in the wireframe view mode, specifically in the front view along the x-axis, and hide the outer walls. So we have 0 floor xt and 1 floor xt. Having said that, in order to make a dome, we need a hemisphere. So we start with a sphere, and with Shift A we select the UV sphere, where, as in the case of the cylinder, we will increase the number of segments in order to make the sphere as blunt as possible already at the beginning, even before applying the smooth. And at this point, we go with shortcut S to enlarge our sphere until it is tangent to the walls of the ground floor of the tower. With GZ, we move it so that it touches the string course of the tower. Again, we enlarge it. Just a little more. And with GZ, we move it again. In this case, as you can see, at this point the sphere intersects, so theoretically we could have our dome exactly up to this point. So what's left for us to do now is to get rid of all this that we obviously don't need. First, we delete the annotation that we don't need. And once we are done, we reposition ourselves with select box and going with the tab in edit mode. We go to select the faces that we don't need. These are all the faces here that we don't need. That is, the ones that will no longer make up our dome. With the shortcut X, we go to delete the faces. In essence, in a very simple way, we got our first dome. We do the same thing for the upper floor. Since, however, we are talking about different diameters because the first floor is flared outward, we should recreate by putting ourselves in the front mode along the x-axis. With Tab, we return to object mode, and with Shift A we go again to create a sphere that by default will have the number of segments equal to 60, exactly like the other one. We move it with GZ along the Z-axis, and at its point placing it in the center of our inner walls. With S, we go to enlarge it until the walls are tangent to the walls of the tower. So, GC. Back in the faces mode, we select those that we no longer need. And with X faces, we got our dome. In order to be able to see even better what we are talking about, we go to Object Mode, and as you can see, we got our domes. Then downward again, like this. Now, having achieved this, we can make the floors of the tower visible so that in semi-transparency we can see what might have been conceivable as the body of the tower, specifically of Torre Pali. Why domes? We do not have any reference regarding the roof because up to now we have devoted ourselves to the elevation, while as far as the roofs are concerned, we do not have any reference point except, as mentioned earlier, the Tower of Salignano, a domed vaulted tower. Now we need to understand the access that existed between the two rooms. Specifically, it could have been either through a stairwell, of which we have no information, or through ladders that communicated from one floor to another through trapdoors that opened between floors, so between ground floor and second floor, and between second floor and terrace. We are now going to create hatches with the cylinder using the Boolean modifier. With Shift A, we are going to create a cylinder, increasing the vertices to 70. Let's go back to wireframe mode and stand in front of the tower. The cylinder may have variable measurement because we don't have information about it. Most likely the ground floor was used to hold either foodstuffs or a water supply, some sort of cistern, but again we have no reference to this. We place with GZ the cylinder exactly in the middle of the tower, which should have intersected the second floor, the ground floor and the floor level between one room and another, and considering that the origin of the axis corresponds to the origin of the tower, we should be exactly in the middle. Now we scale it and make it smaller with S. Now we return to wireframe mode and apply it with Shift D, Z, the cylinder to make it identical to the opening that there should have been between the second floor and the terrace.